I've been running Icewind Dale for, I believe, 8 or 9 sessions now, and overall it has been a very fun experience. Getting used to some of the setting and the like, I have come to like it overall. There are definitely elements of the campaign that I don't like, but what we're here to talk about today is what your players will like, and how to keep them in the forward momentum and keep them going in Icewind Dale. Second episode of the series, the first episode we talked about the starting quest and the starting town that you can choose. But what happens from there? I recommended that the first quest span levels 1 to 3, 4, something like that. Or just take them along a specific route around all of 10 towns and the like. I think that generally in your playthrough, from what I've seen of both playing in an Icewind Dale game and running one, is that you're not really going to be going to every single town. However, definitely building incentive to go there and the like is a very important tool to use in the campaign. I think that one of the most obvious things is the quests and side quests that you can pick up in each place, and that most places that are labelled on the map do in fact pertain to some level of a quest, or maybe just a little bit of world building, but either way they do add a sense of realism to the game. I feel like sometimes, and this is from playing in it, the way that the DM did it, I feel like they were a little confused with where the players were supposed to be taken and the like. There was a lot of just side questing, and talking to some of the players, it didn't really feel like they were fully into it, because it was just a bunch of side questing, which in the end, players don't care about if there's no main story to surround it. I think that depending on where you start, Bryn Shand is a decent place to start, because there's a simple goblin quest to begin with. But there's definitely an issue with the forward momentum in the early game, and therefore I have decided, and I talked a little bit about this, I'm not fully sure what I said because it was quite a while ago, in the first episode of this series about Sefek, how I have turned Sefek into the party's first primary antagonist, because everything they're doing right now is serving towards getting that Sefek guy. Right now, I buffed off his stat block, and I might talk a little bit about that in a second. But mainly, the party wants Sefek dealt with, because he's going around doing his own selfish things, and is also murdering a lot of people. He's an antagonist that I decided would also have an interest in Chardolin, the metal, and the players eventually got an interest in the metal, so they were going off to a place where they heard it was, and Sefek was there killing a bunch of folks, and he was like, oh hey guys, found this, it's cool. He's a very powerful man in mine. He has like double the health, a bit more of a regeneration. I bumped up the regeneration, I give him a better multi-attack and more cold damage on his damage. But yeah, he's a very powerful, very, very powerful enemy for them. Just way beyond level 3 for them. Because they had fought Sefek and were not winning at all. The only reason that they were even alive at that point is because of an NPC companion that was with them, which is quite high level. I'll talk about that soon enough. But Sefek has been, from session 1, literally their first point of order, and they've been talking about him outside of it, and they're thinking, is he like a thrall of Auril? Is he... and the Paladin Divine Sensed, which was quite smart of them, because I hadn't alluded to them being undead. The closest thing was the blue eyes, and they realised that he was undead, and she was just like, oops, uh-oh, well I gotta kill them now. And that didn't turn out too well in the end. He managed to flee after doing a decent amount. No, the party had to flee, actually, while he was distracted / banished, because that's how powerful their NPC ally was. But I didn't want to just spam all of their good shit and make the party feel useless, you know. Banishment was the biggest thing that they did. In terms of that, you might have already introduced Sefek, you might not be interested in this Sefek guy, maybe make it something or someone else. I also, in my campaign, implemented a bit of creepiness while the party was travelling. Every, other time that they had travelled from place to place, I'd narrated that an owlbear was, near them, not attacking them, just watching them. And then at one point they fought it, and that was kind of pretty climactic in a way, but they were also thinking, why were they following us to such an extent? Why we went town to town, why were they there? Etc, etc. Little elements like that. And if push comes to shove, sure, you want to keep the mystique of Auril, but Sometimes you might even want to straight up introduce one of her main, you know, creatures, or maybe like introduce, like, if the party's somewhere doing a side quest, they see her flying above, and that can definitely cause a lot of confusion for them, because like they might see a sprinkling of snow or something and think, oh shit. I think that also giving the players a few more magic items in the start is a good idea. Throughout the course of the campaign, because my players were proactive about looking around for stuff, they've gained the Bag of Tricks from East Haven, and they've got the Pearl of Power and the War of the Wand of the War Mage +1 from the Verbeeg cave. I'd recommend maybe putting a couple more in there, maybe putting something akin to a magic item in the Cauldron Caves, or maybe putting something in the East Haven Town Hall, or maybe... There's just a lot of things that you could put in places that give players more of an incentive to go out and do a thing. I would also definitely recommend speaking to your players and saying, if we're starting at the early game, it's not going to entirely be very linear, and I hope you're okay with that. I actually had one of my players is, well, Ryan is, if you don't know him, go and check out the Curse of Strahd stream. He plays Zudoth on there. He plays a Goliath ranger who is a tour guide of Icewind Dale, and that was some of the incentive. He got told by his boss to escort the rest of the party, and he doesn't know why, and they don't know why, because they weren't signing up for a tour guide thing. I still don't fully know myself either, so it seems really weird and contrived. But now the party's kind of moved away from that, because they've been together for 9 sessions, and they don't really, like, they're not that worried anymore, because, you know, they've grown to like each other, as a party does. Something that I would say is look at each of your player characters and decide what are their motives, what do they want in this. Give them it. I think a decent example is, say, like, I'm playing an Icewind Dale, and one of the characters is a doctor. They have the healer feat, and they're a wizard. It's a pretty cool flavour to it. And he is ultimately on the search of knowledge, I believe, and further honing his craft. I think at some point our DM could maybe implement a few things about, you know, the doctor's exploits. They could figure out, I don't know, they could give the doctor a bunch of lore to look at, or some more outlandish, weird, eldritch healing methods, etc., etc. I don't know. Something along those lines. I think that would be pretty cool. Similarly, in my Icewind Dale campaign, we have one character who is looking for the lost city of Neveril. I try and, like, incorporate everyone's motives into the story as a whole, so that's kind of what that happened. He was like, maybe I'm looking for something secret there, and I said, yeah, maybe you've heard of the lost city, and you're, like, on a quest to find that, which is interesting because the wizard group, the Arcane Brotherhood, I think that's what they're called, they're also looking for that, and that can create both a friendly or very competitive rivalry. It depends. Probably competitive due to the nature of those folks. Osfer is looking for his mother who went missing and stuff like that. And in the session before last, at the end, I had a little dream sequence where the first time Auriel was ever directly involved in it, Auriel was speaking of how, and she used some, like, I did a few weird scenic changes, like it went dark and then he was falling and then he was looking at a mountain with a million changing faces on it, and then Auriel spoke and was like, hey, I got your mum. She said it in a much more exhilarating way than that, but that's the essence of what she said. And he was like, oh, where do I get her? And then she was just like, you're on the right path, it's in your name, Osfer Pathwalker, etc., etc. I think it was pretty artsy, and it gave the player a bit of a drive to search for this mother of theirs. Anyway, that is going to be that. Hopefully the advice has helped you a little bit. If you want more, then comment. I like to keep the discussion going in our Discord as well as the comment section, so you can go in either. Discord link is in the description. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one, because I have a lot of advice that I think I want to hand out. Bye-bye! Don't fucking keep that in.